Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to GhostGG. Today we're reacting to Control Resonant Official, a Paranaturally Warped Manhattan Overview. It's about like 5.5 minutes here. Let's get right into it. And I believe this is like an interview type of
We
video.
had to start to think about the world building a little bit differently.
There are a lot of intricate environments for the player to explore.
Where to go from here? We want to burst that bubble.
Shelter 1, max occupancy 6 persons. Man, I'm gonna replay Control before this game comes out.
Was unique. It all took place in a single building, which was part of the point, right? Like that it feels like a secluded, separate space from the rest of the world. You feel like you're in this kind of a bubble, isolated from normal life and familiar things, and so you're within a lockdown. And having this sense of isolation in the first game was crucial. And we had this brutalistic architectural style that was like a key part of the visual DNA of the building and so on. And we had this bureau that was backwards leaning in its kind of a presence and so on. So it was this kind of a strange yet familiar kind of a bubble that you're in. And of course, as creators, when we think about like where to go from here, we want to burst that bubble, right? Like, you know, the lockdown falls apart and we get exposed with the normal world.
Manhattan has been shaped and twisted into a labyrinth, so there are a lot of intricate environments for the player to explore, similar to Control 1, so there's still quite a lot of interesting stuff for the player to find. We've also introduced a couple of new types of narrative collectibles for the players to find. One is audio logs, where as you're listening to the audio log, you can continue parkouring around the city, exploring and finding other stuff. We also have given Dylan a radio, which he can use to call up his handler Zoe to report interesting things he sees around the city.
So in Control, brutalism was at the core of the experience because of the oldest house, naturally. And in Control Resonant, we really had to make sure that from a world-building point of view, we have this mundane and grounded and believable and lived-in baseline in the world in order for the paranatural to really shine. It's very important for us, specifically when doing concepting and visual exploration, is not to look at reference from other video games. There's easily this tendency where AAA games start to all gravitate towards this aesthetic singularity and nobody's taking risks and everything starts to resemble each other. So looking at reference from art exhibitions or film and TV or scientific visualizations or nature, if it helps us to bring some new fresh takes into this singularity, I feel like it's going to be worth it and the player will appreciate it as well.
Well, imagine that there's a place that was Manhattan, but it has been taken over by a paranatural force that may or may not have been in the first game, might be something completely new. We actually have multiple factions in this game. So there are some zones where you can find all of these factions from, I think, almost... Actually, I think all the
maybe it's a combination of the hiss and something else.
How much of these factions have presence in each zone that differs.
No. All right, I want to pause that real quick. So the first game of Control, they said it felt secluded, right? Because it's in one building. It's in the oldest house, and it's smaller compared to this game, and more secluded, more tight. You know, kind of more like of a claustrophobic kind of feeling. Even though the oldest house is quite big, I mean, it's parasupernatural, right? Like it exists within a different dimension, and the size of it doesn't actually mean. If you look at the outside, the size of the building isn't the real size of the building, right? It's like a TARDIS. It's bigger on the inside, right? But this game, you got the whole of Manhattan, I believe. I don't know how much of New York, but I don't know. Do we know if it's like a pure open world where you can go from each district like openly, or is it like a semi-open world where there's like a barrier between the different open worlds in it, or I have no idea. I don't know if they explained that or not. They might just explain it like in like the next minute here. But that kind of excites me because it's just more open. It's going to be more of a playground rather than in the first game where it was like each department, right? We had the different departments, they were interconnected together. There was like a kind of like a hub kind of open area, but and then each department kind of connected to it. And but yeah, I do like the open-endedness of this game where it's going to be much more of a playground and like just more wide and spread out. And like they said, there's audio logs. There's gonna be some history here. Obviously, the lockdown did not work in the first game. The lockdown was still going on in Alan Wake 2, and Alan Wake 2 takes place in like the modern times, right? Like it takes place in 20. When did the game come out? 2022. Um, and with the DLC, with the FBC DLC, when we went into like the lake house or whatever, that was happening, and they mentioned that the lockdown was still going on, so they only had a small team and whatnot. Um, and then obviously the lockdown failed. The hiss got out, and whatever else may have got out, maybe combined with the hiss. Was it the hiss combined with the Alan Wake and like shadow enemies in Alan Wake 2 or something? Wasn't that in the DLC or something? Or am I wrong? I can't remember. Maybe I dreamt it. I don't know. But obviously something is something new. Maybe a combination of hiss and something else that got out and is taking over New York and kind of made it into like this Doctor Strange mirror universe looking world now.
Things are flooding from the oldest house into the Manhattan, we had to start to think about the world building.
I mean, with everything they got locked up in the oldest house, right? How much of that got out?
FBC holding on and trying to gain control, but it's more of a world, a lived-in world that has a history of its own already, and there are different factions that are basically trying to gain control.
Also, us playing as Dylan, who is a criminal for the FBC and like all the agents, they see him as a criminal, right? They have him locked up. He's a subject. He's been tested on. He's been affected by the para supernatural stuff in this game, right? So like to the agents, he's probably like a boogeyman to them in a sense. And now he has to work with his captors. He kind of doesn't have a choice. I believe his sister, I think his sister, right, goes missing. Director, right, goes missing in this game. I think that's what they kind of hinted towards in like one of the previous things. And he's kind of like the last option, the last choice. I think he's like the only humanoid kind of person in this game that can kind of combat whatever's happening, other than fuck, what the hell's the main character's name? Oh my god. That's going to piss me off. I don't know why I'm so bad with names. Jesse. Oh my god. I kept thinking Dylan and like I couldn't get the name Jesse out of my Jesse into my head. But obviously our sister Jessie, the director, they kind of hint towards her going missing, and I'm assuming Dylan's like the only person that could really combat these things because Dylan does have like powers of his own, being connected to the Polaris as well, I believe, and just like I'm assuming he has something going on. Obviously, he does. If you look at the game, he's swinging around a big ass hammer and shit. No normal human can do that. He always has something going on for him. But yeah, it's kind of like we played as one sibling in the first game, and now we get to play as the second sibling, who we were looking for, who we found, and we found that he's like all kinds of messed up in this in the game, and now we get to play as him in the second game. I'm like, it's cool. I like
For
it.
the enemies in Control Resonant, we definitely heard the feedback and tried to address the feedback we got for Control. So this time around, we have way more creatures than
Nice.
we did before. One of the enemies that we, for example, have is a boss. So that obviously creates a little bit of challenge for the animation team of what can you actually do with this boss when you have
a boss.
limited controls.
Boss,
on it.
holy shit.
A lot of his enemies, they are creatures, but we still have used a mocap actor to mocap some of the enemies, and we have one mocap actor so freaking amazing, nailing down his twitching and glitching. So Tuomas
shit.
Nilsson, he's our go-to guy when it comes to his enemies that can be mocapped.
Hiss and mold are there, but of course we're introducing a lot of new things as well.
The hiss and mold.
And it's a fun layering of familiar things, but definitely facing new challenges.
Just the idea of it affecting New York as a city is so sick. Wishlist now. It's coming this year though. Fuck, I'm so excited. Sign up Control mailing list to unlock exclusive items at launch. The official filtering goggles and the communication department headset. Hold up. I'm such a fan of Remedy, man. I think Alan Wake is in my like top 5 of video games. If you go by franchise, or like series, like Alan Wake is definitely up there. Definitely top 5, probably top 30, honestly. And that in turn made me a big fan of Remedy because I didn't play what's it called? I didn't play too many Remedy games growing up. What games am I thinking of right now? Max Payne. So that's what I was thinking about. I didn't play Max Payne growing up. My first Remedy game was, I think, Alan Wake. When it first came out, I got it with my like Xbox 360. It came with like a download card. I had to get internet. I didn't even have internet at that time, bro. I had internet. I didn't have Wi-Fi at that time. I had like Ethernet, but I didn't have it connected to my Xbox. Obviously, I had to connect to my computer that was like in the living room, and so like I couldn't download this damn game. And it's like, okay, I need Wi-Fi. I need Wi-Fi, Dad. I need Wi-Fi, and I finally got it. And then I finally downloaded that game, and it's like, oh my god, I finally get to play this thing, and oh my god, it was so sick. And yeah, so that was my first like Remedy game, and that made me fall in love with Alan Wake, and then no Alan Wake 2 until like 2022, 2023 when the game came out. I can't remember now on the top of my head. But like that many years later, that damn game came out. But in between, we had Control. And when I learned that was a Remedy game, I'm like, oh, I'm playing Control. And it was so different than Alan Wake, but still so similar in many ways. And it just gave me that itch, you know. It just fulfilled something in me. But Alan Wake is what's number one for me. Control is up there as well. Control is a great game series as well. I mean, the Remedy verse is great in general. I believe it's up there. And now Control Resonant is coming out, and it's gonna be much bigger, much more open. Playing as a new protagonist. We're playing as Dylan, the brother. It's a more melee based game rather than the shooter that Control 1 was. And I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Like, what's going to be their big moment in this game? Like, each of the games have a big moment, and I like the Control was like the matchbox or matchstick maze or whatever the fuck it was called. And Alan Wake 2, it was the concert moment. I mean, Alan Wake 1 had a concert as well. Like, they have their big moments in each of their games. And I'm curious what this one's going to be. I'm excited. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this little reaction. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.